Good day. I'm Jerry Goldman. I'm your attorney. We haven't spoken in a long time, since right before the holidays in December. I recorded a video actually late in January, but things have been busy, very busy with this case. And I apologize, but it's important that I speak to you now and let you know what's going on. First, let's talk about the VSST. As we predicted when we spoke in December, we got the award letters, we sent them out, got them for everybody who we anticipated getting them for. We received the money from the VSST at the beginning of January, and we got that money out very quick. We had spent a lot of time in the fall trying to clean things up, making sure we were organized appropriately so we could move quickly. And now, at the beginning of March, we've gotten in over 99% of the money, way faster than we received it from the VSST last year. And we've gotten out almost 95% of the money, actually a little bit more than 95% of the money, out to everybody by now. I think there's 100 or so claims that still haven't been distributed, mainly estates. And we're working through it, and those who haven't received their money by now know what those issues are. We need court orders and things like that. And we're working diligently to get that done. But we knocked this out more than twice as fast as we did last year. Only real holdbacks and issues with some of the people have been address changes. You got to get us the address changes early so we can get them into the system. And we'll figure out a way to do it even better next year or next time. The VSST has told us a deadline for the next round of applications, which will be June 1st. They have said explicitly they don't know if there's going to be any money yet next January. But they said the application date is June 1st, and for those new people, that's the date that we're working on. We recently got the award for the group that was on the LUM complaint, and a couple of stragglers and some supplemental economic damage claims, and that's already out for service. Service for the ones that are still outstanding, the relatively new complaints out there, service is going to be slower than normal. Serving complaints and then later serving judgments on Iran because of the situations in the Middle East. Our LUM complaint was substantially delayed because of that, based on recent events. That, to me, is the most immediate consequence. People have been contacting us. What about the current events in the Middle East, and how is that going to affect things? It's way, way, way too early to tell. We're monitoring it carefully, obviously, but it is way too early to tell the impact of what's going on in the Middle East on this case, both as to both Iran and the VSST and in general. Other things relating to the VSST and Iran, that simultaneous death case that we have, that's being argued before the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit in the middle of April. With regard to the case involving non-U.S., which is important to every single one of you, because the issue on appeal is, can we challenge decisions by the special master? The VSST and the Department of Justice have said that a decision by the special master is not subject to any review, and that impacts everybody. We've submitted our brief to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. The brief from the U.S. government is due, I believe it's in the middle of April. We'll then submit a reply. I don't know when argument's going to be on that. We have some new cases out there. We filed a new complaint. I expect us to file another new complaint in the next couple of months. The Taliban. It's now 5 months since we filed that petition for rehearing and back. That's an extraordinary amount of time for the court to sit on a petition for rehearing and back. What does that mean? All I can tell you is it's an extraordinary period of time. Their standard position until a couple of months ago was they almost never granted those petitions. We understand they've loosened it up a teeny bit. We don't know if we fit within that teeny bit. We think we should fit within that teeny bit. What they do, we don't know. On the 25th of March, it will be 6 months. So we have to assume, whatever that means, we have to assume that that decision will be soon. We're still a party to the framework agreement. If that decision is positive, that will be great. If that decision is adverse, we'll consider our future appellate options. Sudan, we filed a motion to compel the Central Intelligence Agency to produce documents. They were not particularly cooperative. We're using the resources the law gave us, just like anybody else, to demand that they provide what amounts to be historical documents from the mid-1990s. We've gotten some more documents from the FBI. We're processing them. We've gotten some documents from the State Department. We'll see what happens over the next couple of months with that motion to compel and additional documents from the U.S. government. And then will come the time for depositions. The charities. Some of my co-counsel, the other law firms, had some very minor people, charity officials. We had one. We've removed them from the case. They're irrelevant for these proceedings. There are no assets that are achievable. I want to streamline this case against the charities. Summary judgment begins on that. I believe they do their briefing sometime in April. I believe we have a strong case against those charities, and I want to fight that to win it. Dubai Islamic Bank. As I told you in the past, last June of 2025, the United States Supreme Court, in the FULD, it's F-U-L-D decision, changed the standards for personal jurisdiction for defendants who were not U.S. residents or citizens. We believe that decision materially impacts the Dubai Islamic Bank case. In the blizzard the other day, while all the courthouses were closed, the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit ordered us to continue oral arguments on that date. I was there. We had that oral argument. We believe it went well. We're awaiting a decision by the court. How long that will be, I can't tell you. I don't know. But I hope and believe it's going to be a positive decision, and the extent of that decision is going to be very important. Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is taking up a lot of time because we have that brief due. The brief to sustain the decision by Judge Daniels, that historic decision by Judge Daniels from August of 2025. Our brief is due on the 13th. Saudi Arabia filed its brief. We're finishing up and polishing and revising the draft, a collegial effort by all the law firms in this case. Because of the blizzard, we got a 4-day extension of time. It was originally the 9th, now it's the 13th. I assume, like the Saudi brief, it will initially be filed under seal, and I assume and believe that a public version of it will be released shortly thereafter. There are a lot of issues in that appeal, but we firmly believe that the judge got it right. That the judge complied with the appropriate legal standards, and the judge appropriately found the facts showing that the courts in this country have jurisdiction to hear a case involving the murder of 3,000 human beings on the plains, in New York, in Pennsylvania, and at the Pentagon. and we intend to win that case at trial. Last, the middle of January, saw something on the docket. It was a holiday weekend. Something was filed late afternoon, early evening. I called one of the members of my team and said, "What is this about? This doesn't make any sense. Find out what this case that they're referring to means." He looked, got back to me, told me that the U.S. government had seized $15 billion, an enormous amount. 127,000, I think it's 271, or something like that, Bitcoins. Some hacker allegedly hacked into some Bitcoin wallets and turned those Bitcoins over to the U.S. government, and the instituted a forfeiture proceeding. Didn't mention the word Iran in that forfeiture proceeding, but subsequently was discovered, or at least alleged, that all or some, and we don't know how much yet, of those Bitcoins were generated in Iran, apparently through some sort of Bitcoin mining operation located in Iran, and potentially proceeds from the sale of sanctioned Iranian oil. I mobilized 2 more members of my team, 2 partners and 2 associates, and over the course of that weekend, we put in an application, a claim actually, against those assets. In theory, the deadline for filing claims was December 29th. Virtually nobody filed a claim by that date, and everybody, literally in the days preceding our application, when they figured out what was going on, made an application to file a claim late, and we did as well. We spoke to 3 of our co-counsel, those at Spicer, Motley, and Crimer, gave them a heads up of what's going on, and we reached an agreement. We're all doing this together. We want every one of our clients to be treated fairly and equitably. So that Monday afternoon or Monday evening, we filed a claim listing all of our judgments, all of Anderson Kill's judgments, on behalf of everybody. And those judgments totaled, I believe it was $21.7 billion against Iran. Doesn't include those who we don't have judgments against, or at that time didn't have judgments against. And it didn't include interest. Interest for almost 25 years, over 24 and almost 25 years. The next largest claim that was filed was $9 billion, and that included interest for longer than ours. Beirut bombing victims and such. Over the coming days thereafter, we filed a brief as to why it was timely. We responded to the government's challenges. We modified our intervention to include the claims of Motley, Crimer, and Spicer, so the number involved became something like $93.5 billion or so. Subsequently, when we got the Lum decision by the district court, I amended it again to include that $100 billion judgment. We moved to intervene to try to stop somebody from grabbing the money, because as you know, the New York rule is the first person to grab the money wins, and we don't want that. We want everybody to be treated equally. Others are stepping forward and challenging. It's been a major fight. That docket is crazy. Everybody's fighting for it. But we're going to fight for each and every one of you to be treated fairly and equitably. Do I know what the recovery will be? No. And if I told you, I'd be lying. I don't know. But to the extent that Iranian terrorism victims are entitled to some or all of those assets. I want each and every one of you to participate, and we're fighting for it. Some people challenged our judgments, and we wasted a lot of time on nonsense, in my opinion, my legal opinion. That's been dealt with, and the court has ruled everything was fine. A supplemental order we expect to be signed by Judge Daniels. People have until the end of today actually to object. And I expect Judge Daniels to affirm Judge Netburn's well-reasoned 44-page memorandum on that. I expect us to be able to obtain certified judgments, and we'll file them in the Eastern District of New York. I then expect to file what's called a 1610 application, and I anticipate the court will grant it because I believe the law compels it, and we'll move forward with that. Other things are working as well. I'm looking forward to speaking to you again. Have a great day.